Welcome back to the Strong Families podcast. I'm Amy.
And I'm Jo. And today on the podcast we have Paula Hensley, Pastor Paula.
Very formal.
Yeah, very formal. I don't call you that when we're just friends catching up. But to many people listening, they would know you as Pastor Paula because you're the senior pastor of our church here.
Yes.
But we're also just great friends. We go way back.
Back.
Yeah. And so we're just excited to have you on today and just talk to you about family because you've been there. You're still there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I've been really looking forward to coming in and chatting with you guys. And yes, I still am very much in the family zone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a bit of a, you want to know about my family?
Yes. We always start by saying, what's your family snapshot? Tell us, who are the Hensleys?
All right. Who are the Hensleys? All right. Well, my husband James and I have 4 kids. No, we didn't set out to have 4 kids.
Oh, no.
We did set out to have 2. Then we had 2 wonderful surprises.
I've heard about this happening.
But anyway, we figured out how that was happening. And so we have 4 kids. Our eldest is 16, is Judah. Joel is next, he's 14. And then we have Jemiah, who has just turned 12. And Yana is about to turn 10. So my baby's 10.
Oh, your baby's
so I'm well
10.
and truly out of the baby zone. But very much still in the mix of family. I guess as a family, we are probably a little loud. There is a few of us, but James being American, he's got a good set of vocal cords. I say my kids were blessed with that as well. So we are a little loud, a little noisy. I would say we're adventurous, but probably not necessarily going and climbing a mountain kind of adventurous. We like to go meet people. We like to eat food, probably too much. We like to adventure where we're living and we love to and plan churches.
Just a small thing.
Yes, get to know our communities, and but we do love to be together as well as a family. We have a lot of fun together. So that's us.
Awesome. No, I love the Hensley family. I will probably dip into this a little bit later in the episode, but one thing I love is when you have people over and hosting is happening. It's not just mum and dad hosting. It feels like everyone's hosting. All the kids are making everyone feel welcome. I know when I bring my kid over that he is entertained. It's not just us, my mum and dad. It's a full family job and it's really awesome.
That's so true. They are very social, very welcoming, your kids.
Very social.
Very
if they
social.
ever left out of any dinner party, they are deeply offended.
Well, good job.
They are found, commonly a few nights a week, they will say, "So is anybody coming over tonight?"
Oh, that's so
Not
nice.
tonight, sorry. But they keep asking.
us.
They absolutely love to have people over
and
to host
nice.
people and connect with people.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, you are Pastor Paula. You are pastors of church, you and James.
Yep.
You have busy lives. That comes with the job. So with 4 kids and a busy life, can you speak into how you juggle that with 4 kids? How do you juggle your time?
Well, I don't think that we're any different from any other family as far as, you've got a busy CEO or a, mum or teacher or whatever it is that you're called to.
Yeah.
There is that time management factor. But I guess really for me and probably how our family has operated in that, was James and I first, yes, as a couple.
Yeah.
And then we had kids. Yeah. And yes, it definitely changed our life, but it didn't change the trajectory of our life.
Sure.
And so whatever it was that we loved to do before we had kids together and go on adventure or whatever it was, we just continued to do. Now, it did look a little different.
Yeah. I'm sure in the baby years there was some adjustment.
Yes, it definitely looked a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it has changed from different season to different season. But in everything, I guess we have done that together.
Yeah.
Because it is a family journey. It's not mom or dad doing that and the kids over here to the side. But this is our family. This is our family life. And we've lived it together.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question very well. It's very broad.
We can keep digging. We can keep digging.
I just saw, scrolling Instagram as you do recently, I saw this reel of this lady talking to camera saying, back when I was younger, I hung out at school or at cafes or at the gym or whatever, but where do people in their 30s and 40s hang out these days? in the car, driving our children place to place. This
Yes.
is where we hang. We hang in the car.
Yeah,
Is that true? Is that true? As the kids get older, do you just feel like it's drop-offs all the time, or do you manage how often you're out of the house? How do you do that? Because I'm feeling that looming already with my kids, that there's appointments and lessons and sporting things and school drop-offs, and it can feel like the car has a lot of my time.
Yeah, and look, that's true. But I think it could also be a trap that society tells us or culture tells us that's just where you have to go. And, you have to have your kids in every sport and playing every musical instrument. And while those things are great and wonderful, you don't have to do them all.
Yeah.
And so I think as a family, we've had clear priorities right from the get-go based on our values and our convictions. And we have talked about what they are for our family prior to having kids, and then along the journey for each season.
Yeah.
And, so priorities like having family time together, and making sure that is in the calendar, and that the weekend is not just full of sport. Because for many families in our culture, that is what a typical weekend could look like. And we have done some of those seasons and then realized, hang on, we're spending way too much time at baseball and actually not enough time together. And so we've made adjustments based on the conviction, the value of, hey, actually we want to spend time together. That is good for all of us. We enjoy that. It helps us to grow. Sport's great. But it has to have its place in our priorities.
Well, let's find a way to do it that is a bit easier in the schedule. Like, can you do it through your school as opposed to as a weekend club or something
that's
like
right.
that? Because then it doesn't eat into family time. You just get there early at school.
That's
something
right.
Like that.
That's right. So it's not like, oh, we're just not doing it. No way. I love sport. It's actually one of my values is to have a healthy lifestyle, and I work out. And so I actually want to instill that value in my children.
Totally.
So it needs to have a place based on my priorities, on our priorities as a family. But we have multiple priorities. So how do we make them fit? And then sometimes there are some that are more important than others. But I do think sometimes people are just living life unaware of their priorities, or letting society or others dictate what their priorities should be, and so they're just making decisions based on that. And so I think it is important to step back and say, okay, it's not just about time management. That's how we make our priorities happen, is through the skill of time management and the calendar. But actually how we fill that is determined by what we're prioritizing or what we're valuing. So I guess that's the framework that the Hensleys have built. And continue to build our family upon. So
that's cool. That makes sense. Just having that framework and then figuring out how does it fit, how our values and our priorities, how do all the different kids and their interests fit within that, while keeping family time as a priority. Cool.
And everybody has different values that actually feed into that. But that's why people feel dissatisfied if they aren't placing those values, and there's a disconnect between what I value and what I'm doing.
My world doesn't look how I feel.
Whereas if we just take a moment, step back and say, what are our values as a family? Are we actually instilling that in our family life and in the generation coming after us? And if not, why not? And
totally.
I'm not a victim of my life.
No.
I'm not a victim of my life. I love that.
That's a good phrase.
That leads really well into what we are keen to talk to you about today, and that is being in ministry. Now, obviously, you lead the church. It's very clear that your family's in ministry, but I know that you really believe that every family that has faith, every family in the kingdom of God is in ministry. We're all called to be part of what God's doing. And so can you just speak into that for a bit? What does it look like to have a family that is in ministry together? It's not just mums, not just dad, but we as a family really value that and we prioritize that. What does that look like?
Well, I guess in a way of answering that would be probably to share with you a little bit about my story and how I come to hold the value and a very strong conviction that, yes, my whole family is called to ministry.
Yeah.
And actually, I hold a conviction that we all are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And really, where that comes from is because I grew up in a family that, you know, dad worked at the local electricity company. Mum was a teacher. But we were very much ministering in our local church. You know, my dad was on the boards. My mum taught RE in the schools. And, you know, from 14, I joined the worship team because that's what we did as a family. It's the Christ life. What do we see Jesus doing? He served others. He loved others. He was involved in community life. And so I became a Christian, and I wanted to live like Jesus and to love others and to help others. And so that's what our family did. Didn't matter whether we had to go get money, you know, at another job during the week. We were all involved in church life. And so, yeah, like I said, I joined the worship team at 14. I joined the youth team at 18. And so even then when James and I got married, he was paid to work at the church. And I worked as, you know, in a local neighborhood center. And but I still ministered in church. And so that's just what we did.
It's just who you are.
It's just who we
part
are.
Of your DNA.
It's part of my DNA. And so that's why then, we started having kids, and then that's what we continued to do.
But people often step back. I've noticed. I talk to families and they go, I started having kids. Oh, it all got too hard. It's too hard to come to church. It's too hard to, you know, be involved or serve because it is. It's more complex. So how did you, I guess, keep that purpose and keep that passion throughout
Look, it
the
changes. It has changed in every season. But because I do have a conviction that no matter what season, I can still minister to people.
Great.
Whether it is, you know, I found myself in a mother's room at church for probably 10 years, you know. I may have stepped for short periods into a service, but most of the time I found myself in a mother's room.
We all do our time.
Unable to hear the message because everyone was talking too much.
Why am I here?
Like,
sorry, that's me in the mother's room talking too much.
But I just thought, well, it's like there's still people here. Minister here. You know, run a play group because this is the season that you're in. Minister here. Wherever you are, ministry doesn't, it's a very small part of ministry life on a platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of podcast.
You
know, but it happens all of the time, no matter where we are. And so because I did have that prior conviction that this is just what we do. Isn't this just the Christian life? But we love other people and we want to help other people to know about Jesus. And so I can, if that is really as simply as what it is, I can do that anywhere, wherever I am.
That's right.
Whether I can get into a church meeting or to play group it has changed over the seasons. Now I might get up on platform a little bit more on a Sunday, but Joe would know the season that I was in the mother's room. And, you know, Joe was there setting up church at a set down pack up church. And I was at home trying to wrangle 4 kids and just get to church on time.
You know? And I never realized how hard it was. I did not have compassion for you until I now realize how hard it is sometimes.
It is complicated. But, you know, I think we also just need to be flexible. I've seen a lot. I did see people go before me that did not want things to change. So of course, then if they're rigid in how they approach ministry or serving, and then of course having a baby is going to change that.
Of course,
okay,
changes everything.
But if you can be flexible and say, I can serve anywhere. I can love people anywhere. What does that look like in this season? And then I find heaps of purpose. I am never lacking purpose or people to talk to or love or welcome or tell about Jesus. So whether I'm paid for it or not. And so that is how we work with our family too. Well, we all do this. So what are you going to do? What are you wired to do? Due to Joel, Jemiah and Yana. Because you love Jesus and he's put gifts and abilities in your life. So what does it look like for you? And how can we all just do this together in this current season based on the expectations of age and school or whatever it might be? How does that impact how we express our love for God and serve now? And then next season, when we get to that season,
Yeah.
we'll reevaluate and look at it again.
Yeah.
So it's it has
Yeah.
changed a lot
Yeah.
over my life.
Yeah.
You know, since I was 14, it's changed a
Yeah,
lot.
constant evolution of how ministry looks in your life.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
So just be flexible,
Yeah.
but always be looking to keep doing.
Yeah.
To keep loving people and
Yeah.
keep serving people.
Yeah.
How do you bring your kids along that journey in practical ways? Because I find, as someone that's in ministry that has kids, I find that ministry, it takes time. It takes time out of your weekends, on Sundays, like things when you're having conversations like, oh, we can't go to this because we have church. How do you have those conversations and bring that, how do I word this? How do you keep them loving it throughout those seasons when maybe they want to be at a birthday party, but no, we're going to church, or maybe they want to be doing a sport, but no, we go to church? How do you keep them loving it, not resenting it? That sounds really harsh, but I feel like that could be a conversation that parents have. And how do we tackle that?
Well, I think you tackle it the day you bring them home.
Yeah.
And then you keep instilling those values into them,
Yeah.
right? So from a young age, it's just, well, as a family, we go to church.
Yeah.
As a family,
Yeah.
we love God.
Yeah.
As a family. And so I would say there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of sewing of the why and the explanation. I mean, we have to do that with, it's really good for you to say please and thank you. I mean, how many times do we have to tell our children to say please, to say thank you, whatever it is we're trying to instill in them, we're prepared to say that millions of times. Well, how many other really important things do we need to say millions of times as we are by just explanation and by the doing? So by the time my kids are at prep and getting invited to every single prep member's birthday, they just know, oh, Mum, I can't go to this one. It's on a Sunday. We've got church.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the reality
I actually didn't have to say no to that
because they just know.
because this is who we are.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The reality is your kids are going to grow up knowing, well, we aren't that family, we're our family.
Yeah.
And if they have that sense of identity of this is who we are, this is what we do.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've had that conversation not just about church stuff, but about values just in general. You know, other children do different things to our family and we love them, but it's different. And we do things this way. And that's just kind of, that core identity, I guess, that they grow up with.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I know for me also keeping the joy in terms of, like, I like to point out to my kids the blessings that we have or the benefits that we have from being in church community, the friends that they have, the awesome fun things they get to do, like the special, you know, team things they get to come and have fun with the team and the other team families. I find that's really helpful because they just go, why would you want to, I don't know, do Halloween when we have light night? Like, you know, and stuff like that. You kind of go, you know what, like, kingdom is better. So
if you're enjoying the journey,
Yeah.
and then as you say, celebrating the journey along the way, it's all those seeds that we are sowing in them when we were church planting, and we have to get there early and set up and pack down, or the kids have had to move city again. We moved a couple of times. Helping them to understand, why are we doing this? Why are we leaving all of our friends behind? I'm not saying we didn't acknowledge the hard things, but also talking about the good things. You know, you loved your church so much when we lived there, that we need to go start one just like that over here in this city, so that people can know Jesus, you know. And then as that grows and as they see that, and as we pray together as a family and we celebrate that, then they are excited and they're enjoying the journey as well. So I do think that's multiple things. I also think it's acknowledging that they are on the journey, that it is a family on the journey. It's not, oh, that's mum and dad just racing ahead, leaving us behind. That they do want to feel included, respected, and part of.
Absolutely.
So it does mean you can't forget that they're there. I would say to James, in the early days. I said, I think God gave us 4 kids so that we couldn't forget them.
Yeah.
It's like, hi, we're here, remember us? Like,
If you just had one quiet one, like if you just had one quiet kid, we might accidentally not
Leave them
there.
include them. You know?
That's right.
There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
They'll make their needs
Yeah.
known.
yeah, they'll make their
Totally.
needs known. We really
Totally.
need to think this through.
Yeah.
How we do this so
Yeah.
that they're not left behind, they're
Yeah.
not feeling neglected,
Yeah.
they're not feeling resentful.
Yeah.
Because, we have heard stories and we have known,
Totally.
pastors' kids that
Yeah.
end up resenting, and so I definitely did not want that to happen.
No.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think if we are enjoying it, they will enjoy
Yeah.
it. Talking about it all the time, that
Yeah.
helps to explain the why. Why are we doing
Yeah.
this? Why am I having to share my toys with
Yeah.
the people that come over all the time?
Yeah.
Why are we having people over all the
Yeah.
time? Explaining that.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got 50 people coming tonight and we're going to welcome them to
Yeah.
our church. And there's going to be, 15 little kids,
Yeah.
new kids there. And you know what it's like to be the new kid, don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be great if you could welcome them. And that helps
Yeah.
take them on the journey, explaining the why.
So good.
And then they see their role. And then
Yeah.
I loved saying, hey, I loved how you really welcomed that little girl, and showed them around and showed them the kids' room and celebrating when, they have done wonderful
Yeah.
things as they've been ministering as
Yeah.
well. So it's not all about celebrating, something that mum or dad
Yeah.
did, but actually we can celebrate their part of what is
Absolutely.
happening because they are on the journey too.
That's
and they're a
amazing.
significant part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
I love that.
So-
It's not just about the church and what's happening at the church, but it's what's happening in them. Like it's helping grow
Yeah.
them and their character and who
Yeah.
they were created to be
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. And just looking at your kids and the way they are on a Sunday and seeing how authentic their relationship with God is. I bet you just look at that like, good job. Like all of those hard days, all those hard conversations, or I don't know, the days that maybe it felt tough and you pushed through, paid off, man. Your kids are amazing.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I know
Yeah.
that's all the Lord.
Yeah.
But,
And your faithfulness
and
through it,
His
of course.
grace
Yeah.
that is sufficient
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
But I am very grateful that
Yeah.
they do love being at church.
Yeah.
And I think because we love it.
Yeah. It's
and,
amazing.
And they love God
Yeah.
because we love it.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed.
Love
So
it.
cool. Well, we always wrap up our interviews by asking people what their parenting hack is. So it could be a mindset or a habit or routine or something that you've put into practice that has just made parent life, family life a little bit easier in your house.
All right. Well, my first initial thoughts was to say what I believe my husband said, which was like, get them to work. So absolutely. But you can listen back on that
It
one.
is a tight ship in
They
the Hensley
definitely
family.
all contribute. I think that's the beauty of having 4. You do need
Yep.
to get them all helping out.
Yep.
But my biggest tip that I'd love to share actually is just around working with your individual child. Parenting has some long and hard hours
Yeah.
and some tough seasons
Yep.
but many joys. But I think we can find joy in every season. And the way
Yeah.
that I do that is I love getting to know my kids,
Yeah.
who they are. They're their own individual. They're not all the same.
Yep.
And even sometimes we can fall in the trap of saying, oh, you're just like me. No, actually,
No, they're them.
they have parts of you, but they're them.
Yeah.
And so I'd say get to know your individual child, how they tick, what do they enjoy,
Yeah.
and then you find you're enjoying them
Yeah.
all the more.
Yeah.
And I get to go on this lifelong journey of getting to know my children.
Love.
And that helps me to enjoy my parenting. Like every season, people say, oh, you got teenagers now. I'm like, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Sure, there's challenges. But I just love getting to know a different side of them in a
Yeah.
different season. And I truly mean that.
Yeah.
And so if we can really just enjoy every
Yeah.
season, I think that's our best parenting hack ever.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what we
just
want.
Makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to implement that
Yes.
one. I like that. I've definitely been guilty of being like, oh, that child's just like Dan and that
Yeah,
child's just like
100%,
me.
we all do it.
But it's so true because they're not exactly like me.
No.
They're their own people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that definitely comes from a place of someone who's been there and sees the value in it. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Beauty.
Us mums with younger kids. I was going to call us young mums, and then I'm like, I'm not that young anymore.
You are.
You are. Us mums with younger kids definitely can, take encouragement from that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being on.
Appreciate
Great to
it.
be here. I hope you're encouraged by something that I've
Definitely.
said.
Definitely. We can all take some nuggets away. But thank you so much, Paula.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.